Hey, what's going on, folks? Welcome back to the Morning Mayhem. It's your boy Chris coming at you with another episode. Super excited to be here with you guys today. It's a beautiful week. It's a wonderful day. It's Valentine's Day. So if you missed me last week, it's okay because I missed you too. Obviously, last week we didn't do a show because we had the Monday night Mayhem, which is our one and only live stream that we actually do. And I say me. I don't know why I always say we. I'm assuming I have a team, or I will at some point. But yeah, it's the live stream that we do once a month, the first Monday of every month. We do it at 10 p.m. Eastern time. This was actually our anniversary show. We have been doing the morning Mayhem. We have been doing it for a year now, consistently, since February 2nd of 2024 to February 2nd of 2025. Hit a year. We had the Monday Night Mayhem live to celebrate that, and that was on the 3rd, so just one day after. And yeah, had a lot of growth. Things are exciting, getting very, very, very close to that 1,000 sub mark on YouTube, which is super cool. We've networked a lot, grown a lot, and I'm excited to have so many of you guys watching and tuning in on a regular basis. Speaking of which, if this is your first time tuning in, I am Chris. This is the Morning Mayhem. This is a weekly show that I put out where I cover news, entertainment news, politics, just, all kinds of random stuff that may be popping into the headlines, and try to cover that within an hour or so. And I'll cut the segments up that we go over and release those throughout the weeks as smaller bite-sized pieces. I call those morning nuggets, just so there's, the ADD folks can get a little bit of the show. And when I say ADD folks, I'm, people with short attention spans like this guy. So if you're one, that's fine too. So this is the full show. It'll be the full length, and then we'll cut up the segments, release those later on through the week. We also sometimes release reaction videos under the moniker of Mayhem Reacts. Sometimes those will come out for music videos or maybe trailers or whatnot. I actually just did a bunch of those. Those will be coming out here shortly, so be on the lookout for those. And sometimes I have little shorts or reels or whatever you want to call them. I'll release those as, have time to kind of record those. But those have been fun, and I've been doing that. But yeah, so super excited to have you here. And if you're returning, or if you are a subscriber, I'm very grateful to have you guys. I think about 90% of the people that watch that are returning viewers are not subscribed. So if that is you, then today could be the day, because it is the day of love. It is Valentine's Day. Maybe hit that subscribe button or that follow button down below, depending on what platform you're on, of course. And then all my socials are down in the show notes below. So X and True Social and Minds and Facebook and everywhere. I'm everywhere. So go find me at My Morning Mayhem, pretty much on all social media platforms. You can find me there. Hit me up, follow me on your favorite one, and let's interact. Let's do this thing. Let's show some love. Speaking of which, with today being Valentine's Day, I found this ad. Now, I'm not being paid for this ad, and not necessarily I support this company or anything they stand for. I'm not endorsing them in any kind of way, but this was a fun ad, and I thought it was fitting for today, so I wanted to share with you guys.
Who's that?
That's the threesome that we ordered.
The threesome we ordered? Oh, flowers. I love it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Here's the rest of your order.
Whoa.
Should we take this upstairs?
Yeah, I mean, why not? Right? I saw that. I thought it was silly, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So anyways, you probably still have time for a DoorDash threesome if that's, something in your wheelhouse that you want to check out. But, more power to you. But yeah, lastly, on the Valentine's note, on the note of love, the show of love here. Again, getting really close to 1,000 subs here. If you hadn't already, hit that sub or follow button down below, depending on whatever platform you're watching this on. And like I said, I would love to hit that 1,000 subs by the end of the month. I think we could do it. If not this month, next month, maybe. And I would say maybe, by my birthday in June would be cool, but I really think the rate we're going, we can do it by the end of this month or next month. So if you hadn't already, consider doing that, and show some love. Show a brother some love. I appreciate that. All right, guys. I think that's all the humming I'm going to do to get things going. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got On today's show, Disney Plus changes content warning. So it's not a huge change, but I do want to go over it because it does kind of set up the theme for the show today, the shift that we're going to talk about that we are seeing. Next up, is it safe to be a Christian in Hollywood? Going to talk about Blacklisted. Going to be talking about people that don't have to worry about cancel culture anymore. And again, it kind of leans toward that shift that we're going to be talking about today. New media impacts Trump's image. This is going to be great because I'm going to hit a story that we've seen from a different perspective and pull it back to how people like you and I and other people that you watch are impacting the narrative now more than we ever have before, and how mainstream media is losing its grip. Again, a story we've covered many, many times, but, you know, from a recent polling that just went out. Let's see. Is the right to question the grift? Got a lot of people making the shift, coming over to the right, or being a little bit more edgy with jokes and things that they're talking about, moves that they're making. So are we right to question that, or should we just, embrace them with open arms? And lastly, a Chicago town is upset over a church sign, which, to be fair, is usually not something I would cover, and it's not very insane, the sign. So it's not like crazy. It's not like one of these like off the wall crazy. But it's aggravating the right people. And I want to talk about that. And I want to share that with you because, again, being a Christian, I don't try to get preachy on my show on a regular basis. I share what I share. But that's something that hit me when I was reading the story, because a couple of things jumped out at me. But I want to share that with you, get your take on it down in the comments, and let's interact on that one. But before we go into it, I do want to play this week's clip of the week.
Hey, can you get me a Coke?
Yeah, I can grab you a Coke. Here you go, man.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm not right. I know it. I know I'm not right. And nobody actually threw this one out there. This is just one I picked. I remember it from a while back, and I was talking to somebody about it the other day, so I wanted to throw that out there because it's like a weird, twisted sense of humor, a dark sense of humor that I have. Now, I'm not suggesting anybody go do that, of course, but I thought it was funny, and I thought it had a better twist than most of the M. Night Shyamalan movies do now.
Damn.
Anyways, if you do run across a clip that you want included on the show, I will usually post a call for clips of the week on Mondays on X. So if you're not following me on X, go over to X and follow me, or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at My Morning Mayhem. That's at My Morning Mayhem. Follow me over there. Look for the call for the clip of the week submissions. Throw it in the comment section there, and I'll kind of scroll through and see which one fits best for the show. Either the funniest or the most intriguing, or, whatever fits the topic of the week, which, of course, I don't really know until I go through and find stories, so to speak, So I will put a call out there usually on Monday mornings if I don't forget. And you guys can comment down below on that and drop any clips that you have found that are worth sharing. We're going to get into our first story here, and this shouldn't be any shocker, but of course we're starting to see the tides turn a little bit in Hollywood. Not only in Hollywood, but elsewhere as well. But Hollywood is one that we've been talking about for a while that has really struggled to catch up. And of course, I was on Third Railify's Off the Rails this past Saturday night, as I usually am. And we had a good friend of the show, Mike G, was on. And speaking of which, Saturday night Off the Rails, there we go. Oh, new look, by the way. I'm sure you guys have already noticed that. So trying some new things out, trying to promote a little bit more of the folks I affiliate with, more of our shows, stuff like that. But yeah, so we were on there and we were talking about how Hollywood, when they make their films, they're usually about 2-ish years behind, meaning that they have to go into pre-production, production, and post-production prior to the film coming out, which when you bump that clock back, that puts them about 2 years behind, especially on large-scale projects, two or more years, really. And so they're going to be covering things that were popular then, if they're trying to keep with the messaging or whatever was, going on in the world. And things have moved so quickly that it's hard to keep up with it. So we are constantly hearing about reshoots and re-edits and adjustments and deleted scenes coming out because it no longer does them any good to have it in. And hey, you know what? Some will say too little too late. I say at least we're moving in the right direction. Again, I'm a filmmaker myself, so I love to see that they're coming back around, hopefully. Like I said, that's yet to be determined. But this caught my attention. Again, nothing groundbreaking here, but did want to share this. This comes from Variety. It says Disney Plus to change content warnings ahead of Dumbo, Peter Pan, and more old movies amid DEI strategy shift. Again, we're going to talk about shifts that are happening right now that we are seeing. And of course, this is a big one. This was a DEI thing that Trump fought against. Classic films, which, by the way, do not need to be remade. They don't need to be rebooted. We don't need live action that 70 to 90% of it is still animated, be it computer animation. It's still animation. We don't need it. Nobody's asking for it. Leave them be. These things are classics. All right. Back to it. I just felt like that needed to be said. Okay. So it says Disney is adjusting the content warnings ahead of some of its old movies, including Peter Pan and Dumbo, amid an overall shift in DEI strategy at the company following President Donald Trump taking office again. That just sounds awesome. As first reported by Axios and confirmed by Variety, Disney is changing the disclaimer that auto plays before these titles. The previous version noted that the film, quote, includes negative depictions and or mistreatment of peoples or cultures. While the new version reads, this program is presented as originally created and may contain stereotypes or negative depictions. Now, it's not a huge shift. Number one. Number two, it's also not necessary, is it? Like, do we think that this is something that people have to see before they see a film? Like, can't we just watch the movie? Have we gotten so soft we have to have trigger warnings for everything? Now, the only trigger warnings that I really feel like should be out there are pretty much for like epileptic people. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're epileptic, you may not want to watch this film. I think that's fair. We don't need even this new one, but I will point out, if you look in here, it says, let's see, it includes negative depictions. So it's saying it does include it. It's part of it. Whereas the new one says, may contain stereotypes or negative depictions. So it is not definitively saying. That's really the biggest change that I see, is one saying this is negative. This talks about people of, cultures and different types of blah, 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 blah. Whereas the new one saying, you might get a little offended by this one, just FYI. The other one saying you are going to be offended by this. This is the difference between this and, oh man, I just went completely blank. Taught in schools, colors, something. I can't think about it. I can't think of what it is. Sorry, guys. But it's the where like black kids or kids of, they say kids of color, but specifically it's usually black kids, are told you are a victim. You cannot overcome in the normal system. You will have to work harder. And is telling them all these things definitively, right? Versus saying, hey, there's obstacles that existed before that you may still have to deal with a little bit. There's a difference there. It is saying definitively, like, look, you're not starting out from the same point. You're not going to be as successful. You are going to be set up for failure. And that's why critical race theory, boom, there it is. I knew it would come to me. That's why you see conservatives fighting against it, not because it teaches about race, but because it creates this definitive negative depiction of race and says, because of your race, you are a victim and you will always have to overcome, and you are always starting from a lower level and have to work harder. You are a victim, and you are an oppressor. You are a colonizer. You are evil. And that's why it was fought against. I want all the stories told, you know. Harriet Tubman. I'm from Macon, Georgia. We have the Harriet Tubman Museum. It's awesome. I've been there multiple times. Beautiful mural in there and everything. Yeah, we don't care if those stories are told. We want those stories told, but we don't want children to be made to feel lesser in any way. Yes, tell them, hey, look, there's going to be things you have to overcome in life. And this is true for all races. Some more than others at different points in time, but I think we live at a time now where it's pretty even keel on that one, right? But that's what this is saying right here. To me, this is what I'm getting out of this. Is saying this is definitely showing you something negative versus you might see something negative or something you deem to be negative. It's allowing the viewer to have some input in their own thought process. Imagine that. We'll read a little bit more and move on. I don't know if there's a whole lot more to go over on this one. It says in November 2019, Disney first added content warnings to movies such as Dumbo due to racist depictions found in the films created by Disney in the 1940s and 50s. This program is presented as originally created. The warning previously said it may contain outdated cultural depictions. Again, didn't need it. Disney changed the wording in October 2020 to the longer content warning that I'm not going to read. Good Lord. Now it is reverted to the content warning back to a version of the one inserted in 2019. Disney's Chief Human Resources Officer, Sonia Coleman, outlined changes to the company's DEI efforts in a memo to leadership Tuesday. Creating a welcoming and respectful environment for our employees and guests is core to our company culture and our business, Coleman wrote. Our values, integrity, creativity, collaboration, community, inclusion guide our actions and how we treat each other. Today, I want to provide an update on how our values are embedded in our leader compensation program, specifically our other performance factors, as well as share some of the work that has been underway to evolve our talent strategy consistent with these values. We're not going to read the full note, so we don't have to worry about all that. But again, not a huge change, but it's definitely a change, and it's definitely been impacted because of Donald Trump. Hopefully this is a net positive, and hopefully we see more of this happening. I would love for films to get back to telling good stories, being artistic, taking risks and chances, which we're going to talk about taking risks in a little bit. Spoiler, foreshadowing. But yeah, Hollywood hadn't done that in forever. It's safety. You know, reboots, sequels, prequels, whatever. And then insert Agenda A here. We're tired of that. So hopefully this is a move in the right direction. We're going to talk a little bit more about Hollywood in this next segment. So let's roll right on into that one. So next up, we're going to talk about Christianity in Hollywood. This comes from Fox News, and I don't know if you guys remember Candace Cameron Bure, or Candace Cameron back in the day. She was from Full House. She's probably doing some other stuff, but she was doing Full House back in the day. And I would play this because it's got her talking, but it's got this dude over here talking super duper loud over her. It's the misogyny. But yeah, so she was from Full House. You know, she's done a lot of Hallmark kind of movies and everything. They came out and did the reboot of Full House on Netflix, did Fuller House, and I think she started her own network as well. I should be a little bit more on point on that one, but I think she started her own network that's more of a Christian-based or family-based, at least, network. But as the headline says, Cameron Bure feels people are less afraid of being canceled in Hollywood for their faith. Full House star is among nominees for Movie Guide Awards, which air March 6th. Cool. Good for you. Let's go. Giving me a hard time. Candace Cameron Bure has always proudly shared her Christian faith, and she's seeing others start to do the same. I feel like people are just a little less afraid of being canceled now that they can share their faith openly or whatever their opinions are, even if they're not congruent with some other people's opinions, she told Fox News Digital on the red carpet of the Movie Guide Awards. And so I love seeing this in our country, and I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful she's done well for herself. Just saying. Let's see. Burr also has hopes for the ongoing recovery from the Los Angeles fires, which swept through the Altadena, and Pacific Palisades neighborhoods last month. It's been so hard, and I have so many friends that lived in the Palisades that lost their homes. It's going to be a journey. It's going to be a long time for recovery, Burr, a former resident of the Pacific Palisades for over 3 decades, said. In the meantime, the community has come together, and we're all doing what we can to help. She's got clearly a good heart. Some may say a Christian heart. Let's see. Even though I'm not in Los Angeles right now, I'm filming a movie. I'm still in touch with everyone. Still have a store that's open to gather great items for our families that have lost everything, and we're going to continue to do that. I think that the beauty about a community in Los Angeles has really come together to help. She was on, I think that's from it. She was also on, like, is The View or The Show or something like that too. I don't know. I think she goes on about some stuff. Let's see what she say here. That could be one of the priorities of President Donald Trump's newly appointed Hollywood special envoys, Mel Gibson, John Voight, and Sylvester Stallone. I'm eager to see it. I hope that they bring a lot of business back to Los Angeles and Hollywood because it's been, unless you're a huge big budget show, it's been very difficult to work here. I've mentioned that multiple times before. It's honestly why I do the majority of my movies in Canada. Hey, because you get better tax breaks up there. So I'm hoping that we get to do a lot more back in the States, specifically in LA, because this is Hollywood, where it all started. Entertainment belongs here. I'll just say to you, Candace, you get fantastic tax breaks in the state of Georgia, which is where I am. You can come by and see me anytime. But her point is valid in the sense of, can people be Christian in public in Hollywood? Not only does it impact Christians, but you guys know for the longest times, this is something that's been impacting conservatives as well. While Hollywood might still be blacklisting outspoken conservatives, other studios are calling. Like she was saying, they're having to go to other places to film, get tax breaks and everything because the big studios are there doing their thing. Smaller studios are stepping up. And they're like, hey, look at all this talent not being utilized. We're going to use them. Hey, the Dean Cains and the James Woods and the Kevin Sorbos and, whoever. Let's start grabbing these guys up, the Rob Schneiders. Let's work with them. So these independent studios or independent filmmakers are starting to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Again, I put a plug in there a few weeks ago, and I'll do it again for Tubi. Tubi is a free streaming platform. It is ad-based, so you do have to watch ads, but it beats paying for something and then still having to watch ads, in my opinion. But they are a platform, a streaming platform that took a chance and is continuing to take chances on independent filmmakers. In fact, I have a film on there that I was the co-writer and cinematographer for. So I'm thrilled about that opportunity. I'm thrilled about seeing us grow. And if you go and you look at that, what's coming out in theaters or theaters, you'll see some films that are coming out that aren't these big blockbuster, big studio films. Some lesser known studios, lesser known actors. I'm telling you, it's going to be 10 times better than what you're seeing. I'm telling you. And they're going to have a better return on their investment. They're going to make their bank. It's going to be great. I don't know. Again, I'm not in Hollywood, obviously, so I don't know how safe it is to come out as a Christian or come out as a conservative. I would say probably a Christian more so, but I will say there's a lot of darkness out there. You know the stories as well as I do. The things that happen behind closed doors, things that happen that aren't even behind closed doors. It's Hollywood. They're known for a lot of darkness, a lot of evil. And just say evil doesn't like good. Darkness doesn't like light. You feel me? So I would imagine it's still a little difficult. There's still a little pushback if you're a Christian, and especially if you're conservative. This next story we're going to look at is, it's great. I think it's fantastic. This is probably one of my favorite stories because it's one I've been seeing other people cover, but I haven't seen them take this perspective. So I'm going to try to have a different perspective than they have. So if you have seen this before, don't click off or scroll away yet. Come back to me. Let's talk about it. So I'm going to roll a clip real quick. Again, you may have seen this, making the rounds and everything like that. This is from CNN, and it's talking about Trump polls and approval ratings and all this and that. So let's take a look and let's come back and talk about it.
This is a much more organized and effective start to his second term as compared to his first. CNN senior data reporter Harry Enton joining us now to run the numbers.
And you know what? The average of the polls also has him on the positive side of the ledger. Trump's net approval rating on February 9th. Look at this. In 2025, he's at plus 4 points. Look where he was in 2017, his first term at this point. He was at minus 5 points, so he's doing nearly 10 points better on the average. And more than that, as I mentioned, it's not just the CBS News poll, it's the Ipsos poll, it's the Gallup poll, it's the Pew poll. All of these polls have him in better shape than those respective polls had him at this point back in 2017. So the bottom line is, no matter where you look, Donald Trump is more popular than he was 8 years ago at this point in his first term.
And how rare is it that Trump's in this positive territory when it comes to his approval rating?
Yeah, I remember Donald Trump's first term, and it just seemed every single day Donald Trump was in the negative territory. And it turns out it was pretty much every single day of his first term. Positive net approval rating for Donald Trump, again, using the aggregate of the polls. Look at this. In his entire first term, just 11 days was he on the positive side of the ledger. Compare that so far, every single day, all 20 days so far, he has been on the positive side of the ledger. So he has nearly doubled up the number of days in which he has a positive net approval rating from his first term. And we're only 20 days in. Every single day, Donald Trump has been in positive territory compared to just 11 days during his first term. The bottom line is, no matter which poll you look at, no matter what way you look at it, simply put, Americans like the job that Donald Trump is doing significantly more this time around than they did in his first term, when he just had 11 days in which he had a positive net approval rating compared to already nearly 3 weeks so far, Jessica. Of course, Donald Trump won the 2016 election. He won the 2024 election. But when you went into his first term, there were a lot of folks who simply put did not think that Donald Trump was doing what he promised. Back in April of 2017, it was just 46%. Compare that to 70% so far. So a big reason why Donald Trump is significantly more popular now than he was at this point in his first term is because, simply put, the American people believe he is fulfilling his campaign promises in a way that they did not believe he was doing, believed he was getting off on the wrong track back in 2017. They believe he's following his campaign promises this time around, and that is, I believe, a big reason why so many more Americans are approving of the job that he's doing compared to his first term at this point.
So a few things with that, and I'll be very streamlined in this. Number one, I'll say, I think a big part of why people think he's getting more done that he said he would than he did the first time is because he is. The first time he relied on people surrounding him that were suggested or recommended or put there, so to speak, and says, okay, this is going to be your crew. And they did nothing. So many of them did nothing. Right? And then he continued to say, I'm going to go to Congress. I'm going to allow Congress to do this. I'm going to push this for Congress to do. And Congress didn't do anything. He tried to do the wall. They knocked it down. He tried to do all kinds of things and he kept getting knocked down. He had nobody that was a go get him kind of person. What did he do this time? Executive order, executive order, executive order, executive order. He's taking them upon himself to get things done. Clearly not the way he wanted to do it. He wanted to go through Congress and everything. But now he's like, look, you guys are going to just play around. I'm here to get stuff done. So executive order, executive order, executive order. Not only that, but look at the people around him. There's not one slouch. There's no Mike Pence's on this team. Elon is killing it. JD Vance is out there doing what he does. And that dude's amazing. He did an interview just not too long ago. I mean, just anytime he's talking to somebody or anytime he's doing a rally or a presentation or or speaking at a con, whatever it is, that guy nails it. I would be shocked if he is not our next president after Trump. I mean, he's killing it. Plus, we definitely want to see where this goes after Trump, right? We want to keep this train moving, people. But my point is that everyone around them, the RFKs, the Tulsis, the Kash Patels, you know, all these people that are confirmed or are getting confirmed, you know, these are all people that are out there making stuff happen, or that once they can, they will go out there and make it happen once they get confirmed and in office and everything. Look at the Pam Bondis. You look at the, Caroline. They're all go get them. They're awesome. And that's what he had to do, is he had to have the right people. That's one thing. That's one thing. The other thing is, what has changed? The landscape of the media. Okay. The landscape of the media has changed. There's really two things that kind of went over there, and they had their own little personal takes on there. I remember the first time he was in office, it seemed like every day it was negative, negative, negative. Most of the media coverage, I think they said 90% of the media coverage on Trump, his first go around, was negative. This time we all know that the media has had to lighten up a little bit because the numbers are tanking. People are not trusting them anymore. Why not? Because they're trusting us. They're trusting new media, independent journalists, whatever you want to call us, you know, journalists, commentators, news readers, content creator, whatever. I don't even know what I am. A conservative commentator, maybe a journalist. I don't know. But more people are turning to us. In fact, there's an article right here I found, and this is from back in November. This is from PBS News, and it said about 20% of Americans get their news from social media influencers. Now, I'm not going to go into the article. You guys know, if you've ever watched the show, I've got all the links down in the show notes below. You can go read this whole thing and check it out. But this is showing the shift. I wish I had a chart here to show you how much things have shifted. But more people are starting to get their news from online independent journalists. I mean, credible news sources that are independent, you know, that are just not the CNNs, the NBCs, the ABCs, the Fox Newses. You know, there's the rise of those guys. There's all these conglomerations that are starting. I mean, PureBlood Media. I'm very fortunate to be associated with these guys. It is a group of content creators, commentators, journalists, what have you, that are very determined to make sure that what they are presenting is accurate, is fact-based. The news aggregator, and that's always going to be linked in the show notes below, but the PureBlood Media news aggregator is you go to the site. It's the first thing that pops up. It's multiple news articles, and each one of them has to be triple sourced verified before they'll allow it on the site. Okay? Because we want to be truthful. We want to be honest. We want to fact check within ourselves before we come to you. Mainstream media has not done that. How many clips can we pull out and go to and show where they have lied? And then when they get called out on the lie, they find a way to kind of shimmy away from it without actually acknowledging that they've lied or been deceptive. Am I right? So we are a huge part in why the tide is turning. It is, one, he is actually accomplishing more than he did the first time. And two, people are seeing it. And a huge part of that is not just Elon with Doge, but Elon with X. X is more balanced than it has ever been with conservative and liberals. We covered that on this show. I want to say we covered it on the show. I know I saw the story on that. And again, it was actually Eaton or whatever his name is from CNN that was talking about it. It is more balanced now than ever. And everybody's on the left is like leaving because it's too conservative. Well, if 50% is too conservative, then I don't know what to think. I don't know what to tell you. You know, it's incredibly balanced right now, whereas it used to be overly left leaning. So because of Elon, it's now found more balance. And because of that, we've been able to get the truth out there. We've been able to actually get stories out there and find stories out there. And not just Elon, but these other sites that are kind of loosening their grips a little bit, one of which we'll talk about in probably the next segment. And of course, Rumble. Rumble, if you're not watching this on Rumble, I do highly recommend them. I don't have to, I mean, yes, this is exciting. Very, very exciting. I would love to hit this number on YouTube. But I don't have to worry about what I say on Rumble. I can go out there and I can say what I have fact checked and I know is true and accurate, whereas I have to kind of dance around stuff with them, which I refuse to do. So, you know, if you're watching this channel, you're watching this show, any day I could get taken down because I don't pull back. I don't go wild out there. I'm not big into profanity and I don't try to be too nasty or anything on my show. But at the same time, some of the stuff I cover could potentially be controversial to certain folks, to certain censors, but it's important to get the truth out there. And so that's why I'm on all these different platforms. That's why all these other creators are doing the same thing. That's why you have seen the shift, because people are finding us. People are finding the truth and seeing through the BS that the mainstream media has been misinforming them of. They see that they are the arbiters of misinformation and we are the arbiters of truth. Think about that. But I think those are two of the biggest things is Trump's got a great team around him, and between them and his executive orders, he's getting significantly more done in a faster pace. And then two, it's the new media, us, that has made a huge difference. And not only the perception that he's getting things done, but the positive outlook on the man. You look at all the things he's doing and how it's being covered. The mainstream media still has a bone up their butt, right? And they're still being negative. Not as much, but they're still being negative. They're still lying. But you see, most of us, we lay out the facts and let you decide. And you have decided this man's not as evil and as terrible as maybe you used to think he was, as he was presented to be by the mainstream media. Even his vice president couldn't stand him. Couldn't stand him because he bought into and believed the misinformation and the lies, the deception of the mainstream media. And now he's singing a different tune. He's vice president of the United States and he's killing it. This is something I was talking about earlier, and you guys tell me in the comments. I think this will be a good conversational story to talk about. Again, I'm always down to have a conversation with you guys in the comments section below or on any of the socials or whatever, but this ought to be a pretty good one. So this segment is kind of, are we justified in questioning the shifts that we're seeing? You know, people are coming over to the right, or they're coming over to free speech platforms, or they're starting to tell more edgy jokes, you know, so to speak. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think we should be questioning everyone and everything and not just receive people with open arms and allow them to write blank checks and just be like, hey, I'm one of you guys now. So this leads me into this next story. This is the breaking story, and this just broke the other day. Tim Pool came out with a big announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, a new day has come. I have a major announcement for all of you. You saw the title. The press release is out. Timcast is joining Rumble Premium. And boy, do I have really, really good news for all of our members. I want to give a shout out to Rumble, the premier location for honest and authentic conversations. Of course, we joined Rumble right away. And since the beginning of our membership program, as we were sorting things out, we found that Rumble and Parallel Economy were the best places to host our content and help support our infrastructure. We use their cloud services, but now we are going in all the way. We're joining Rumble Premium. That means timcast.com members-only exclusive content will be available to all Rumble Premium members. Starting today, we're going to be working everything out. We have a press release to go through, but we're going to try and get it going as quickly as possible. So, of course, this means there's going to be an expansion of the content we produce. New shows like The Green Room, our members-only uncensored call-in show, will be available to you if you're on Rumble Premium.
So, yeah, there's that. So Tim Pool has announced that he's coming over to Rumble Premium, which, as he said, he was already uploading videos to Rumble. He wasn't doing any of his live stuff over there. His main content, right? It was just the clips, the smaller stuff. I guess you can say something about that. But yeah, I mean, this is being lauded over as like a huge win, right? So this is from Rumble directly. Tim Pool joins Rumble and brings his exclusive Timcast show to Rumble Premium. You can read on, yada, 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 right? The link will be down in the show notes below. You can read this whole article if you want to. But he even went on Louder with Crowder and talked to Steven and the crew over there about this big change, this big shift that he's making.
How long has this been in the works, and what made you decide to make this move to Rumble? Because you have a huge, not only subscribership, but obviously a huge media company. This really makes Rumble Premium ground zero for a lineup, and it's no small catch. What was the catalyst?
Oh, the easy thing simply is we were entering renegotiations on ad sales and things like this, which opened the door. And this is like the real flat business element of it. Oh, hey, we're in negotiations again. Our term with our existing sales are up, and this allowed us to have a deeper conversation with guys over at Rumble over how we can be bigger and better than we currently are. So it's a massive win-win across the board for all of our members, for our Rumble Premium. You can only just be some wandering rogue in the forest for so long. Right. We have to be part of something bigger so that, in the event of censorship, you have support network, you have a marketing network, you have access to more events. I'll give you some just real simple nitty gritty stuff. It cuts our infrastructure costs down. That's an easy one.
Right.
But the most important thing for me was we've got this we've been on Rumble for a while. We've been posting our videos here.
But the biggest thing was the cost, I think, people in leaving YouTube, the opportunity cost where they were concerned about viewership. This hopefully solves that problem for creators, or at least helps.
What motivates me with Rumble is they went to Barstool Sports. They went to Street League Skateboarding. They got Dr. Disrespect. They got Steven Crowder.
So there you pretty much have it, right? I mean, in a nutshell, I know the clips were cut up, spliced together like perfectly. But I did them that way because it kind of speaks to cost, money, infrastructure, censorship, right? We know Tim Pool has basically said for a while he couldn't afford to come over to Rumble for one reason or another. And now he's like, yeah, I'm going to help pioneer Rumble, even though people like Steven Crowder and Dan Bongino and Russell Brand, even he has come over sooner than Tim. And then you got, I've been with Rumble for a while. I've done the show in its current iteration for a year. I've been on Rumble since you had to vote on Rumble up or Rumble down and vote the two videos and all. Rumble was a weird place when I first came over here, and someone else who's been over here for a while, another Rumble alumni, another brother, Sean from Third Railify. I would like to bring him on and let him tell you a little bit about his take on this whole thing. So let's pull in a little audio clip from good friend of the show, Sean from Third Railify.
So it's basically, for a long time now, Tim Pool has shit on Rumble. He has refused to stream to Rumble. Sure, he would upload some of his videos after the fact and all of that to Rumble. It took a long time for that to happen. He was just YouTube only for a long time, but only more recently did he upload his stuff to Rumble. But he wouldn't stream there. No, he wouldn't stream there, and he would shit on Rumble, basically saying that streaming to Rumble is not, I don't have the capability, I don't have the technology, it's not worth it, blah 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 blah. And it was because he wanted everyone to go through YouTube so he could get the ad revenue. That's what he wanted, and it was all about YouTube ad revenue. Rumble wasn't good. Rumble was bad. Fuck Rumble. He shit on Rumble for fucking ever. And then the one time he streams to Rumble and he's like, oh, it's a new dawn, it's a new era, because he knew there was a possibility that he was going to get taken down. It was like the presidential debate or whatever that was, right? And so then he doesn't get taken down, or he does, or I don't know, whatever. But the very next day he's like, fuck Rumble, fuck Rumble. And we're like, but You figured it out. You figured out the technology, right? You dual stream, you simulcasted whatever it was. So why don't you just do that every day? And he's like, well, the humming and hawing and all this other bullshit. And it's like, no, it's only because you want people to funnel through YouTube so you can get maximum YouTube dollars. You f***ing cunt. Like we don't f***ing know what you're doing. And now that he signs this deal with Rumble, he's going to say the things like, oh, I love Rumble. I've always loved Rumble. Rumble has always been the best. That's a f***ing lie. You shit on it for f***ing years. Sure, maybe you used Rumble infrastructure for your f***ing Timcast bullshit, but you didn't stream to it. Like, don't f***ing, piss on my face and tell me it's raining. Like, Jesus Christ, this f***ing guy, and everyone's eating it up. They're like, oh my God, Tim's on Rumble. He loves it. It's so amazing. Fuck, it's bullshit. It's a goddamn lie. And another thing, Tim Pool is now being lauded as the savior. The savior. Like he's some sort of the Lord or something. The savior of Rumble, and that's absolutely ridiculous. It's honestly kind of, it's a little offensive if we're honest here, because Christopher, listen, you've been a Rumble creator for a long time. I've been a Rumble creator for a long time, and why aren't we getting any props or anything? I'm not saying that we deserve a fucking ticker tape parade or anything, but Tim Pool decides that, oh no, YouTube is getting a little too dicey and my revenue stream is at risk. I can't walk this fence. The fence is too narrow. It's too much like a tightrope. I can't do it. I'm still going to try, obviously, because YouTube money is so fucking important, but I better go over to Rumble. And then everyone's like, yay, Rumble. No, it's bullshit. It's absolute fucking bullshit. He's not the savior of a goddamn thing. In fact, it's like, I don't know, it's evolved from, just some milquetoast fence sitting thing into an actual fucking grift. I see it, and it's disgusting, and I fucking hate it. I absolutely hate it. Anyways, that's probably all of my thoughts there on that. Good thing this conversation is just between like you and me, and you would never air this on your show or anything, because that could be really awkward or something.
Oops. All right. Anyways, moving on. He's not the only one, Tim Pool, that's made some major moves. That's, maybe getting some backlash or some criticism a little bit on the whys, the ins, the outs, whatever. Brett Cooper also recently just came back. You guys know Brett was with the Daily Wire. Then she mysteriously had some, separation or whatever around that. If you followed any of that at all, just kind of sounds like to me, maybe she was ready to go, or they were ready for her to go, or things didn't work out in the contract. I don't know. Point being, Brett Cooper's out on her own. She just recently came out with her first episode. I think it was just a couple of weeks ago. And that first one was kind of a doozy. So what do I got here? Brett Cooper returned to the interwebs a couple of weeks ago, and her first episode was spent calling out right-wing cancel culture. If I'm being honest, I think Brett may have missed the mark a little bit. I know she's fairly young. She's very intelligent, very, very sharp. But I think a lot of the youth there will add to the naivete. And us old folks, I'm starting to get a gray hair over here. I know you guys probably can't see it in this light. There it is. Can you see it? Got a gray hair. So there's a little wisdom right there, right? but I think we've seen this play out before. And I think that's why I probably have a different take on it than Brett. And I don't think Brett means anything by it. I think Brett wants to be more positive about what we're seeing. And I think that's great. I think that's very optimistic of her. And again, maybe a little naive. But yeah, let's talk about this a little bit. Let's see. Here's the first of two clips I'm going to play from her first episode back, where she kind of comes out and hits the mark right off the bat.
We do need to talk about how the right runs the risk of literally losing everything that we've worked for if we continue down a path of mimicking the left's toxicity, aka we need to talk about right-wing cancel culture. All right, so I've been thinking about this topic since New Year's Eve, and I've known that I want to cover this on my first episode because it just keeps coming up. And it specifically came up on New Year's Eve after the actress and comedian Whitney Cummings did a set on CNN's New Year's Eve show. I mean, it's so great. Like, this entire set, she is basically shocked they have not cut her off. You can tell that she's uncomfortable. She's like very tentative. She's taking a risk, making all of these jokes that are incredibly honest. They're incredibly genuine and insightful about the state of our world and the state of politics. And people loved it. Like, she went on for like 5 minutes and everybody was, again, literally in shock that she was not cut off. And of course, she immediately went viral on X. Some people had never heard of her before. They were so excited to find, another brave and honest comedian who was willing to push boundaries and make these kinds of very, relevant jokes. But what makes the story interesting is that people turned on her as quickly as they fell for her because they realized that 5 years ago when COVID was raging, she used to be very pro-vaccine and that she even had vaccine mandates for some of her live shows during that 2020-2021 period. And you have some tweets here. You can see her talking about the vaccine, saying that, God, we need a vaccine. Can we make a vaccine now? Go, we need a vaccine. Chop, chop on that vaccine. Like, she was tweeting about this constantly. And immediately, people on X started calling her out. They were calling her a grifter and a fraud, saying that she was an opportunist, that she was taking advantage of this time in culture when things were shifting to the right to try to make a name for herself. They literally lost their damn minds. And again, this happened in a matter of hours. I watched her videos go viral. I was like, man, this girl is so cool. I've seen her on TV. And then suddenly everybody hated her. Like, guys, nobody in the world has a perfect track record.
Again, I think her closing remark there was well intended. The nobody has a perfect track record. But that's also an umbrella that anybody can throw over and say, hey, I 2 weeks ago, I was calling Trumpers or maggots or whatever, the scum of the earth. And now all of a sudden, I'm getting a Rumble channel and I'm on your side and anti-establishment and go get them, Trump. And, it's a quick shift there, buddy. What may have, your job was at risk. Okay. I got you. Things happen. I get that. And I'm not knocking Whitney Cummings. In fact, I covered this story when it happened. It was the first show of the year, I guess it was, since that was New Year's Eve. And I like me some Whitney Cummings. She can get it. But she's done great stuff like Two Broke Girls that brought us Kat Dennings. And I'm grateful for that. But yeah, I mean, she's funny. I think she's funny. I like Whitney Cummings. And I'm not saying that her telling the jokes that she's saying or the covering the content she's covering, I'm not saying she's not being authentic. I think we should kind of question it from where she was to where she is now and not just say, oh yeah, come on over. Maybe look into it a little bit, maybe be a little skeptical. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But as I pointed out, and I pointed to Chrissy Mayer. If you don't know who that is, she's insanely talented, funny comedian, and content creator. But Chrissy Mayer covered this as well, and she did a fantastic job. She did a full show on it just about. But she was saying these aren't edgy jokes anymore. They were edgy, 3-4 years ago. It's not that we're against her being red-pilled, so to speak. It's why are we giving her all these accolades for being risque and telling edgy jokes when that's not the case. I've been talking about risky content for a while. Third Railify, Steven Crowder, even Tim Pool, maybe, I don't know, Chrissy Mayer, Dave Chappelle. You can go down the line. There's significantly more people that have been edgy and risque in what they've been talking about as far as like censorships and everything goes, and what's acceptable by the last administration and everything. But now it's safe. It's fairly safe to get away with all this stuff. And now is when she's doing it. And that's where I think people have the problem, is saying like, okay, it's great that she did that, but we're making it something that it's not. It's not like she took a lot of risk there. She wasn't being edgy. But she thought she was because she's still in that bubble. The people that thought she was are also still in that bubble. Time to wake up, guys. Time to wake up. Now, is she grifting? Maybe. I don't know. But does she deserve the applause for being edgy and risque? No, I don't think so at all. You know, I'm not hating on her. I think it's great. Hey, I love what she did. I think it's great. She called out everything she did. But to say like, oh my gosh, she's the greatest all of a sudden because no. How about no? You know what I'm saying? Like, no. And I think that's where you're getting a lot of pushback is a lot of people have lost their jobs, their livelihoods. Their lives have been at risk for saying and standing up for what they've believed in for so long. And now people can do it freely and openly. And we're acting like this wasn't a big thing before. And whatever. I'll get off that one. But that was Brett Cooper on Whitney Cummings, who, again, I like me some Whitney Cummings. But that wasn't the only person she talked about. She also dove into to the Zuck man a little bit, or Zuckbot, whatever you want to call him. But here's that clip.
And I know that this is a very hot take in conservative circles right now, but in light of all of this, this is why I am choosing to give Mark Zuckerberg and Meta a chance. I want to see them be better. I want to see them succeed. And I feel like we've literally been watching Mark Zuckerberg transform. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, again, like Whitney Cummings, he's grifting, he's opportunistic, he's just changing right now. Are you kidding me? Like, I have been watching Mark Zuckerberg beef himself up. He started doing martial arts and jujitsu. Like, when he started doing jujitsu, I was like, it's over for the libs. And guess what? It kind of was. I really think that that was the push he needed to draw his line in the sand and start to unravel everything that he and Meta had been doing for so many years, had been complicit in, which is why, in my opinion, he sent that now famous letter to Jim Jordan, where he basically admitted to all the censorship and said the White House was encouraging and forcing their hands. He said that in 2021, senior officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our teams when we didn't agree. Ultimately, it was our decision whether or not to take content down, and we own our decisions. This is really important. We're going to talk about that later. I believe the government pressure was wrong, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it. I also think that we made some choices that, with the benefit of hindsight and new information, we wouldn't make today. Like I said to our teams at the time, I feel strongly that we should not compromise our content standards due to pressure from any administration in either direction, and we are ready to push back if something like this happens again. And a lot of people read this letter and they said, oh, he thinks that Trump's going to get in office and that he is going to get reprimanded, that he's going to be thrown in jail. He's trying to cover his track. But that last line spoke volumes. We're ready to push back if something like this happens again, any administration, either direction. And within minutes of this video dropping on social media, it was announced that they were, rolling back fact checkers. Obviously, we should not jump in heart first, trusting this man implicitly. But you also shouldn't dismiss the work that he is doing that will make our lives better, that will hopefully change the course of the media landscape, much like Elon Musk and X has done. We should, in my opinion, hope for the best and hope that he is being genuine and be excited about the changes that he's making. And this man is also in an incredibly difficult situation right now. Like, everyone hates him. If you go online and you watch any videos about Mark Zuckerberg right now, you have libs screaming, losing their minds, saying we're not going to be on Meta anymore, we're getting rid of Instagram, getting rid of Facebook, literally ripping him to shreds. Meanwhile, you have conservatives who think that he should be in jail, that nothing he does will ever rectify the situation that he created, that he does not deserve a second chance, that we should also leave Meta, leave Facebook. Like, he can please nobody.
All right, so kind of working backwards on that one. Yes, the right wants him to be held accountable for what he's done. And he's suppressed information that could have changed the outcome of an election. He has got the fact checkers out there that has suppressed factual information that was deemed misinformation at the time, incorrectly labeled misinformation at the time. Yes, he needs to be held accountable. I think a lot of what he's doing now is because he sees the tides are turning, and if he doesn't get on point, he's out of there. Things are going to change, and he could lose his job. He could lose everything he's worked for or stolen, depending on, the story you want to believe on all that. But yeah, I think a large part of it is that. And yes, that's why the right doesn't like him. The left doesn't like him because he's not left enough. And that's the thing, is once you go left, once you go libtard, once you start trying to appease those people, you will have to continue down that path because that line keeps shifting. That goalpost keeps moving, right? If you don't, then they're going to be mad at you. They eat themselves all the time. That's why you see people coming to the right, because they're like, I can't get anywhere with these people. I thought I was liberal enough. I thought I was progressive enough. I thought I was, trans in this and pronoun in that. But man, apparently I got to go off and hop in the bathroom with one of them.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, you're never far enough left for the left. So that's why the left hates him. He has been beefing up. He has been getting into, the MMA stuff. Maybe it's jujitsu and maybe some other things as well. But yeah, I mean, he went from being a robot to being a man. We recently saw a glimpse of the testosterone and manliness. Those urges kick in. Attaboy. But seriously though, like it's great to be welcoming to him and hope that he's changing for the good, hoping that he's seen the light, hoping things are going to get better and more balanced. But to be as excited as she was and say, I believe him, I believe him, but then also say we shouldn't just, allow him to write a blank check and come back and we shouldn't just accept him with open arms. She kind of contradicts herself a little bit there, I feel like. Whereas I see what she's saying. I want to believe, right? I want to believe him. I hope he's making these changes because he wants to, because he's seeing the light. But he may be just trying to, take care of self, look out for himself, look out for his company. And that's quite the possibility. One of the things we have to really be worried about is as these people are leaving the left and coming over to the right, and I identify as a conservative, obviously. Don't necessarily identify as a Republican or in line with some of these Republicans, but I'm definitely a conservative. And as you see people come over to this side, you always got to keep your guard up a little bit, because as they're coming over, what values are they bringing with them? Are they wolves in sheep's clothing? Are they coming to tear things up from the inside out? Things to think about. But I will say this, as long as we continue to hold people accountable, and that's something that the conservatives are really, really good at, holding people accountable, we'll be fine. Because at the end of the day, if this is a quick shift to get on the conservatives' good side so his business picks back up, he'll change his ways eventually. If he stays consistent, that will be a sign that he has genuinely changed his outlook on things. What do you guys think? This is going to be a hot one between Tim Pool, Mark Zuckerberg, again, Whitney Cummings, I already talked about, but Brett Cooper's perspective of that, I guess. Any of that you want to talk about in the comment section below. I'd love to interact with you guys on that one, because I do think there's grifting that's going on. I think there is naivete that's going on. And God bless Brett Cooper. I think that her youth is an optimism. Her natural positivity may end up being her downfall when it comes to reading these people. What do you guys think? So we are going to move on to our final story of the day. This is, again, I don't get too preachy or anything like that on my show, but this is one that kind of hit me. It was interesting. It came across my path and I said, I want to check that out a little further. And the more I dug into this story, the more interesting it was to me. And I'm hoping maybe to you guys too, Christians, non-Christian, believers, non-believers, whatever. I think I hope you're going to see the same thing I see. And at the end of it, maybe you'll feel the same way I do, as far as if it's pissing off the right people. And I know I probably shouldn't have said that in a churchy segment, but anyways, we're going to go ahead and get to it. This article comes from Blaze Media. It says, liberals lose their minds over church's sign about open borders, vilify black pastor. Black pastor as a white supremacist. One of these things is not like the other. Yeah, so it's a sign about borders, apparently. Okay, let's read on a little bit, and then I've got a news clip. It says, we understand that immigration is a hot topic today and wanted to use that to turn people's attention heavenward. Nothing wrong with that. A church in Illinois has, is it Illinois or Illinois? I think it's just Illinois, right? Somebody let me know. A church in Illinois has caused a stir after putting up a sign about illegal immigration and open borders. Remember that, because they did not put up a sign about illegal immigration and open borders. Kind of about the borders part, but you'll see. Liberals are having a meltdown over the sign, even vilifying the black pastor as a white supremacist. The New Hope Community Church is located in Palatine, Illinois, roughly 30 miles northwest of Chicago. On February 5th, the church featured a new sign that read, now here's the sign, this is what it says. Heaven has strict immigration laws. Hell has open borders. Heaven has strict immigration laws. Hell has open borders. Now, remember back up here what they're getting upset about is that the sign was talking about illegal immigration. They didn't say anything about illegal immigration at all. It mentioned borders. It mentioned immigration. But again, as per usual, people conflate immigration and illegal immigration. And that doesn't even compute when you think about the subject of the sign. It has nothing to do with it. All right, we'll read a little bit here and then we'll look at the video clip there. Let's see. Pastor James Pittman noted that there was no controversy about the sign for the first 6 days. It was up until someone got wind of it. Local news outlets ran stories about the sign, then CNN reportedly requested an interview. Pittman told the local news station, I guess, immigration is a topic in the community, so what we've been doing on our sign for quite some time is take what's going on in the community and turn it towards heaven. That's great. Who says churches can't be marketing places, right? You can't use marketing tactics to bring people to the Lord. All right. Pittman said he is open to having conversations about the sign's message. The immigration we were talking about is very clear in the sign, heaven and hell. Yes, it is. Very clear to anyone with half a brain. And our message is very clear. The scriptures are clear. Not everybody makes it to heaven. That's also very clear in scripture. We'll get into that in a little bit. Again, I'm not going to go too deep on this. Again, I know I got quite the mixed crowd that watches. But to be clear, I'm also a Christian, so I don't back down from talking about my faith, at least doing it the right way. And that's what bothers me about this, okay? Pittman addressed the alleged controversy in a 14-minute video. The link to this article is going to be down in the show notes below. All these that are underlined are clickable. This is a YouTube link to that 14-minute video. Obviously, we're not going to go watch it. We're going to show the news clip that is in it and talk about it a little bit. But you can click on any of these links that are in here, and it'll take you to, here's one, the statement on their Facebook page, which I've gone and read. They've even got the video on there, the 14-minute video. There's the direct link, all that stuff. Highly recommend checking it out if this is something that interests you. In fact, I'm going to read this part down here, and then we'll go to the video. It says, however, some in Palatine community are open arms about the church's sign. Part of why we moved to Palatine was the diversity, being able to show our kids that, and everyone should have opportunity and love each other. And seeing something like this is really upsetting, said Palatine resident Catherine Huddleston. Let me be very clear. The left is only okay with diversity, integrity, inclusion. They're only about inclusion and love and openness and acceptance when it's stuff that they want, when it's stuff they agree with. As soon as you step outside of that, then they don't want to have nothing to do with you. It's BS. They don't want to be inclusive. They are very, very exclusive, in fact. So right here, she's saying everyone should have opportunity and love each other. Diversity. That's where I wanted to go. She wanted to see the diversity. Well, here's a diverse concept here. You may not agree with this messaging. Here's a church that does. Here's a group of people that do. That's diversity. Diversity isn't just, physical skin color, physical appearance. It's diversity of mindset, conservative, progressive, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, atheist. I mean, you can find diversity in all kinds of ways. The left is so skin deep on all this stuff. They are just so, I would say, racist. But that's what they consider diversity. They just want to see different colors until it comes to sex, and then they want to include everybody who wants to sleep with everybody too. But and thinks they're a different gender than they actually are. But that's beside the point. She's not actually open to diversity, this lady, so she doesn't know what she's talking about. Lisa Beth, don't know. Lisa Beth, president of the Palatine Elementary District 15 School Board, told the Daily Herald, "It is unfortunate that a couple of phrases that some adults feel to be clever are posted in the face of many innocent school children having to ask parents, friends, and adults what they mean and why." Let me stop right there. You mean students that probably go to school and get educated or indoctrinated on a regular basis about men can be women, women can be men, about drag queens coming and reading them stories, about books that have actual pornography in there being allowed and pushed on them? Teachers with rainbows and safe place spaces and openly talking about their sexual adventures to them? Oh no, they may see a sign at a church that makes them question things. That's the point. The point of the sign is to make you stop and think, to make you question things. Are you stupid? You're an educator? Pulling kids into the edginess and politics of the moment is absolutely inappropriate and causes real fear for our school-age children. I call BS. Your children are not afraid of having a conversation about heaven and hell, about Jesus. They're more curious than anything. Tell you what they're afraid of. They're afraid of using the wrong pronouns. They're afraid of wearing the wrong colors or misgendering somebody or something like that, because then they'll actually get punished here on earth, in your world. Whose world? We'll get to that in a minute. That's what they're fearful of. They need to see this. You need to see this. I couldn't quite, she says that in the video. So we'll cut over real quick. I'm going to show you guys the video from the local news station that came out and talked to them. And I got to say before going into it, one, again, it is a black pastor, okay, who's being accused of being a white supremacist and this is racist and all this and that. But two, this man is so steadfast in his faith, he doesn't falter. He says it like it is. I have a pastor that's like that. He doesn't back down, because the thing is when you stand on God's word, you're building your house on solid rock, solid ground. It's not shifting sand like these other people do. Okay, so we're gonna roll that clip real quick for you guys, and we'll come back and talk about it a little bit.
Senior pastor of New Hope Community Church says the messaging on the church's sign is not meant to be political, but a play on words.
The sign outside this Palatine church has people stopping in their cars and on foot, questioning its meaning and the meaning it has for their village.
I couldn't quite believe that was a message going out in my community.
So seeing something like this is really upsetting.
The sign reads, "Heaven has strict immigration laws. Hell has open borders." Critics call this a political message, one that doesn't allow for inclusion. But New Hope Community Church Senior Pastor James Pittman says politics has no place here.
Immigration is a topic in the community. So what we've been doing on our sign for quite some time is take what's going on in the community and turn it towards heaven.
The message intended, Pittman says it's all in the sign.
The immigration we're talking about is very clear in the sign, heaven and hell. And our message is very clear. The scriptures are clear. Not everybody makes it to heaven.
The messaging that I saw today is not the face of Palatine. It's not our community.
Teresa Greinig now mobilizing other Palatine residents to create what she called signs of positivity to place around the church's sign.
So I really want the students who come back and forth from school every day to be able to see positivity as they start and end their day.
The church's pastor says both he and the church have gotten backlash, including some labeling him a white supremacist. He says the perception of the message is far from what New Hope is about.
We push one man and one man only here, and that's Jesus Christ.
And amen to that. Pastor Pittman, if you ever happen to see this or anyone in your congregation, I would love to have you on and talk to you about this. This is just ridiculous. And folks, you know, if that sign offends you, for the people in Palatine, I don't think he meant to offend you, but stir up thought, stir up the questions. Instead of going in and asking questions and seeking the answers from him or someone else there in the church, or, you know, opening up the Bible maybe, it seems like all we can do is, oh, I'm offended, let me call the news station, or let me put up signs of positivity that rebuke this negative message. I don't think you guys realize how beautiful of a message that is. The key to everlasting life in heaven is found through those doors, through the good book, and his name is Jesus Christ. That's a wonderful love letter to the community. The fact that people find that negative or dark or hurtful or whatever is very, very telling. And I'll mention what my thoughts are on that in a minute as well. But I will say, if that sign offends you, don't come down here in the South. Don't come down here in the South and look at the signs that are on churches. Now, our church doesn't have like a rotating sign that we can put stuff on or anything. It just has our address on it and our name. We're pretty basic. But I've passed plenty of churches that do. And they have said that exact statement many, many times, along with other ones that would probably make the hair on the back of your neck stand up because, oh no, how could they possibly say something like that? Oh no. Like, do you have fire insurance? You know, and it's talking about going to hell. You know, yes, you don't have to always preach fire and brimstone, you know, kind of thing, but it's real. It exists. At least it does in the Bible. Now, the worldly message, it does not. It's all, you know, rainbows and sunshine. I'm going to call somebody out on that in just a moment as well. I made a couple of notes because I didn't want to miss anything on this. Again, I don't like read straight off of my notes. I kind of, you know, make a couple of bullet points. I just, you know, forgive me, but I don't want to miss anything here. Let's see. The idea of those quotes or statements are to make you think, to get your attention, or possibly even trigger you. So you do start asking the questions. We were talking about that, and it's supposed to do that. They were upset, rightfully so, but for the wrong reason. They were probably upset, and their soul was speaking to them because they're not saved. But they weren't upset because it was just, oh, it's not a positive message, and that's not what this community is about. Sounds like the community needs that church and more like them in there, because it sounds like y'all need saving, baby. You with me? All right. Let's see. Yeah. And that one lady said they were trying to get other folks to put signs up around that church sign so the kids could see positive messages as they leave and go to school. Do you know who protests God's word? Demons. Demons. That's where I'm going with this. We're in a huge spiritual warfare right now. And there is good and bad. There's angels, there's demons. There's heaven, there's hell, believe it or not, folks. And so when you fight that hard against the word, it's because something is uneasy inside of you. These people are struggling. If they knew God's word, they would understand what that sign meant. It doesn't have to do with illegal immigration. Those people, again, projecting their own interpretations and their own self-interest and whatnot on other people and their own motives on other people. You ever heard liberals? And I don't know if this pastor and his congregation, they may be liberals, they may be progressives or Democrats or whatever. But you ever hear the Democrat Party constantly talk about racism, you know, all this and that, but then they'll say it's bad, but then they'll come out and say something like, yeah, we need these illegal immigrants so they'll pick our fruit and clean our toilets and do all this other stuff for lower wages. That kind of sounds familiar, doesn't it? They just kind of tell on themselves. It's projection a lot of times of what you hear. So these people are disturbed. The demonic energies inside them are very disturbed, and that's a great thing. And I hope they continue to be disturbed, and I hope these people eventually come to know the Lord. But yeah, the Bible, while it is a positive book, you may say, when you know the author and you know the story, it's not all rainbows and sunshine. Now, some people want to present it that way. Some people want it presented that way, and there are pastors that will present it that way. That's why you see so many of these huge mega churches. Some of the biggest churches you will find are pastors spreading positive messaging, not God's word, not the word, but the world. And again, if you have ever followed me for any point in time, you've heard me reference this one scripture in Revelation that says when Satan was cast out of heaven, he was sent to earth, not to hell, to earth. This is where he is. This is his plane. The world is his. He's running in here. He's whispering in our ears. He's influencing us. So when people are out there and they are misconstruing God's word for a more positive worldly message, that's coming straight from the devil. And if that ruffled your feathers, then holler at me. Talk to me in the comments. Reach out to me on any of the social medias, X. I'll say this again before I close out this segment, but I'm just saying, God's word is locked tight, solid, does not change. Okay? But I was on the verge of calling him out, so I'm going to go ahead and finish. Joel Osteen is somebody who tends to avoid the negative, the controversial, or anything that might kind of mess with someone's spirit when it comes to Christianity. Here's an interview he did a while back, and he just he boils me up.
Message of hope, usually delivered with his trademark smile.
God is not in the condemning business, he's in the restoration business.
His sermons are relentlessly positive, and that's made him a target of critics who say Osteen sometimes sounds less like a preacher and more like a motivational speaker.
You have to take the hand you've been dealt and make the most of it.
You know, you've been criticized for church light.
Yeah, that's right.
For a cotton candy message. Do you feel like you're cheating people by not telling them about the hell part? The repentance part?
No, I really don't, because it's a different approach. You know, it's not hellfire and brimstone, but I say most people are beaten down enough by life. They already feel guilty enough. They're not doing what they should do, raising their kids, or we can all find reasons. So I want them to come to Lakewood or our meetings and be lifted up to say, you know what, I may not be perfect, but I'm moving forward. I'm doing better, and I think that motivates you to do better.
I don't even know what that means. I'm doing better, and that's good. That's good enough. Let me tell you something. There's nowhere in the Bible that says that. And I know this is a guy that doesn't preach out of the Bible. Apparently, he doesn't talk about hell. I don't think he ever says Satan. I want to say I saw that on, I think he was on Oprah one time or something like that. And he doesn't ever mention Satan. I mean, that's his God anyway, I would imagine. Oops. Did I say that? Let me be very clear about something, and I'm going to pull it up. Again, I'm not trying to Bible thump here, but I want to be very clear because this kind of ruffled my spirits a little bit when I saw this story. John 14:6 very clearly says, and I'm using the New Century Version. It's a version that I really like because it puts it in like just about as plain English as you can. You may have a little pushback on different versions that are used. Look, it's pretty close to all the exact same. So I'm going to use it, and if you don't like that, look up your favorite version. John 14:6 says, Jesus answered, I am the way, the truth, and the life. The only way to the Father is through me. The only way through me. Acceptance of Christ as your Savior. Die of your old self, be born again as a Christian. Live your life as Christ lived. Be a Christ follower. That's how you get saved. That's how you get salvation. Right here, Ephesians 2:8-9, again, I mean that you have been saved by grace through believing. Faith, right? Believing in Christ. Accepting that he's your Savior through faith. You did not save yourselves. It was a gift from God. It was not the result of your own efforts, So you cannot brag about it. What this is saying, guys, you can't get into heaven from good works. You can't get into heaven from being a good person. There's more scripture I could point to that says none of us are good. There are no good people. If you are a sinner, you are not a good person. God and sin cannot coexist. And Jesus paid the ultimate price to cleanse us of that sin because we are cloaked in his blood, so to speak. I know, again, if you're a non-believer, this all sounds foreign to you. It sounds goofy a little bit. I get that. Holler at me and we'll do a deeper dive. I have no problem doing that. And I'm not the perfect one to have this conversation with. I'm just a normal dude who happens to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. I love the Lord, and I'd love for you to love the Lord. I'd love for you to have that relationship and that peace of mind that comes with that. Because when you see stuff like that sign, it doesn't bother you. It doesn't trigger you because you know it's true. Even some of you guys, there's people that I stream with, and there's people that I'm close to that are still atheists or agnostics or kind of question things. They can look at that sign and they wouldn't be upset about it. They wouldn't be offended about it. If their children, if their nieces, if their nephews, if their family walked by it, they wouldn't worry about it because they know that's what that church believes. That's what those people inside that building believe. Why do they believe that? Because that's what God says. That's what God says. It's funny. They are okay with being upset about that. But you go look at, again, the rainbows, the BLMs, the pride parades. I'm sure they probably even attend the pride parades. You see all the corruption in their government. That stuff doesn't offend them. But saying that there are borders to get into heaven, right? And hell has open board, that offends them. There's something more going on there, and I applaud that church for being there and doing what they're doing. If this is something that interests you, Christianity, faith, or maybe you just have questions about it, maybe it doesn't necessarily interest you in the sense that, like, I'm ready to commit. I get that. I will point you to a great site. Again, you can reach out to me in the comments down below. X is where I'm at most of the time, but any of the social media platforms that are listed down below. But a site I have to call out is called gotquestions.org. Gotquestions.org. And I'll throw a link down in the show notes for that one as well, so you can just go straight to it. But gotquestions.org tackles all kinds of topics of faith, and it's a great one. Talking about homosexuality, alcoholism, going to church. Do I have to go to church to be a Christian? All this stuff. It's genuinely a great site and a great resource to use, and it uses biblical text to back up their stuff. So again, I know they'll probably never see it, but Pastor Pittman, Reverend Pittman, I can't remember how you were called. Let me see if I can find it. I want to be respectful. Not finding it fast enough. Sorry, guys. Pastor. Yeah, I was right. Pastor Pittman. Doubt you'll ever see it, but if you do, keep up the good work. The Lord knows what you're doing, and I can't imagine he's anything more than pleased. Keep ruffling feathers. That's what we got to do sometimes. Would love to get more people to come to the Lord with honey, but it's not all milk and honey. I mean, it's not all rainbows and sunshine. There's the truth out there that there's the other side. And a good friend of mine, and I won't call him out, even though he's mentioned it multiple times on his own. I'll let him tell it. But it took him to see so much evil that he started questioning the opposite side of that equation that balanced it out. If there's this much evil in the world, these demons that I feel like I'm seeing, then there's got to be positivity. There's got to be angels. There's got to be something to balance this equation. That's what went on in his head. I think that's a fantastic way of looking at it. Praying for him, obviously, and any of you guys that are questioning the Lord. If again, there's people that I work with in Pure Blood Media that are Christians, great resources there to speak with any of them. You can speak to me, and if I don't have the answers, I'll find them or I'll get you in touch with somebody else. But again, that gotquestions.org is a good site. And just stay tuned, watch us, and hopefully we'll stir things up a little bit. But yeah. Well, guys, that's the show. I certainly appreciate you tuning in. Again, I hope I didn't get too preachy there at the end. But sometimes when, the Lord lays something on your heart, you just gotta, roll with it. So there's that. But yeah, don't forget to follow me at My Morning Mayhem on all your favorite socials, X, YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, Minds, Facebook, Gab, even Truth Social, whatever. I'm everywhere. At My Morning Mayhem. Don't forget, this is the long format show. It's about an hour long or so. I don't even know how long we've run, maybe an hour and a half today. But this is a long format show. We will break down the segments and release those throughout the week. We call those morning nuggets. I'll have some reactions coming out either this week or the following week, just depending on when I get those cut together. So be on the lookout for those. We have a good time with that. The next morning Monday Night Mayhem is not until March, so more on that as we get a little bit closer. If you do want to go watch the last one, I'll leave a link to it down in the show notes below. It was my 1-year anniversary of doing this show, and I'm super excited to hit that milestone. Again, getting really close to 1,000 subs over here on YouTube. If you're watching there, consider giving me a sub today. Gifting that guy to us and helping us hit that goal. I would really appreciate that. It's Valentine's after all. But yeah, if you're watching on other platforms, follow, share, subscribe, all that good fun stuff. Don't forget to check out Pure Blood Media. Go to news.pureblood.media and check them out. They've got the great news aggregator, the TV guide that shows all the content creators when they are going live. Like I say, I only go live once a month, so I'm only on there with them. But Third Railify, who I work very closely with, along with Handy News and several others, are going to be listed on there, and support them and help them out. Build their audience as well. You will not be disappointed in those folks, and you won't be disappointed in that news aggregator. It's a great resource to use. And I guess with all that said, guys, I appreciate you very much, and we will see you on the next one.
So I was laying in bed with my girlfriend reading the secondhand diary that I bought. I don't remember this. She said, "Let me ask you a question." I said, "What?" And she said, "If you could know how and when you were going to die, would you want to know?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Forget it then."